Hi everyone, it's Megan from Access for Animals. Coming to you live from, well, not live, this is video, but coming to you from Melbourne in Victoria, Australia. So we're right down the south of Australia. I want to share with you a story of what actually can happen and what can be an absolute contribution to you if you ask your animals questions and you hear or listen or perceive what it is that they're trying to tell you. So let me ask you a question first. Have you done this? Have you actually listened to what your animals are saying to you, and have you honored that? Interesting question. So what I want to share is that, and I've got my whole family here at the moment. So we've got Wizard, we've got Crystal, and up the back there, we've got Mad Cat Josie. So first of all, I've had Wizard for probably about 18 months. So Wizard's 11 years old and he's a Samoyed, as is young Crystal here. And right from the moment I got him, I knew that he was quite a special dog, and he was very introverted. He was very anxious and very nervy, and he's taught me a whole range of things about my capacities with animals, and especially using the Access Consciousness tools, being, body processes and also even just energy pulling and what have you. So I got caught up in the story of Samoyeds are supposed to be outgoing, they're supposed to be friendly, they're supposed to love people, and Wizard was like that with me, but he was none of those things with anybody else. I started to stress and worry, again, my interesting point of view, that he wasn't quite fitting in with society, and I was starting to, I don't know if I was getting the energy of it or if I was actually creating it, but I was worried about his emotional well-being more than anything else. Fast forward a bit, we've had a few, sort of challenges with him, but fast forward a bit, and I had a friend bring his dogs around, and or her dogs, his and her dogs around, and I noticed the way that Wizard was interacting with the dogs. And then when I went to their place, Wizard, who was initially very standoffish even with me, which really kind of hurt my feelings because usually animals gravitate towards me, but Wizard, yeah, he wasn't like that. He broke all the rules of and all expectations and all points of view that I had about, my interaction with dogs in particular. But what was happening when I took him over to where these other dogs were was they were very friendly and outgoing. They both those dogs knew me, and so they were all over me. And Wizard's standing back watching this. So that was the first step that Wizard took to go, okay, well, this is my new mum, and so this is the way that I need to act. Anyway, to cut a very long story short, over the last few months in particular, Wizard's very comfortable here now, not so much comfortable when we go outside the front door, but I've learnt to communicate with him as much as he wants to communicate, and one of the things that I was getting from him was that he actually wanted a mate, and I kept saying to him, you've got Josie, the cat. And they get along famously. Like Josie gets very concerned when Wizard's not feeling the best and does a lot to contribute to him. Sometimes with me, she can be his voice. So if he's not communicating something to me, Josie will actually let me know what is going on with Wizard. So it's an interesting dynamic there. But Wizard was showing me that he actually wanted companionship. He wanted companionship of another dog. He'd actually come from a breeder where he'd spent most of his life, and he was used to being around 20, 30 dogs, and suddenly he comes into this environment and there's only him. But every time I was listening to what he was saying, in the same token, I was going into resistance with that. I didn't want another dog. I already had one, and Josie. I've got all my possums that I take care of as well. I didn't want the double the grooming, double the vet bills. I didn't want double the amount of white snowy fur that's constantly around the house. All these things that in my own mind I was resisting, what it actually could with Wizard. And finally, probably about 6, 7 weeks ago, my next door neighbour come over and she's also got a Samoyed. And Wizard showed so much joy at being around and he kept coming to me and I knew he was saying, Zach can't live here, who's the next door neighbour's dog, I want somebody, I want somebody. And finally I went, you know what, Wizard, if that's what you want, if you really, really want to, have a companion to come and live with us, then you need to choose them. You need to create them and bring them in. It needs to be somebody who can, fit into our world with a minimum of fuss. And, so I just kind of left him to it. And then a few weeks later, I had the urge, I suppose, I saw something on Facebook and I had the urge to contact the breeder where I got Wizard from. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do this. Again, it was very much, I was right in the middle of work. Like it was just a weird time to be contacting somebody about getting a dog. And I thought, okay, well, I'll put the feelers out there. And this was exactly what I had done with her to get Wizard. So as luck would have it, she happened to have a 6-year-old female who they were looking to rehome. And they were looking at another couple. But as soon as I rang, she said, no, I want Crystal to actually go to you. And I'm like, okay. And then we're talking about Crystal's personality, and Crystal's, was very outgoing. She chases cats. Cats annoy her and all these things. And I'm like, okay, I don't want my environment to change that much. I get that. I don't want to change that much. I don't want Josie to be upset and be running around, So all of this stuff was coming in, and then I kind of stopped for a second. I went, what else is possible here? Like, what can actually happen? What if Wizard has, attracted the perfect new family member to come in? And I just kind of kept going. We had a couple of weeks where the breeder was away, and I said, I'll have another discussion with you, when you come back from being overseas at a dog show overseas. And I knew, I kind of had an inkling when she was back, but I was still like, oh, I don't know, resist. And finally, about a week and a half ago now, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago, Dawn contacted me, the breeder, and said, we need to have a chat about what's going on because we're now going overseas again for another dog show, and I have 25 dogs I need to find, house sitters for, and I need to just find places for them to stay. If you could take Crystal, it would be awesome. And I'm like, oh, okay. And suddenly it was in my face, and again I'm like, resist still. And Wizard's there going, Mum, where's my dog? I just want my dog. So anyway, Saturday, actually it was 2 weeks ago tonight, I think, it all kind of fell into place. I kept saying, I can't come to you. They're an hour and a half away. I can't come and get the dog because I've got possums that I need to feed every 4 hours, and I just can't, sort of do it. And luckily enough, one of my other friends put her hand up and said, we're all going to the same dog show. I can drop, Crystal off on the way back. So then I'm like, okay, Crystal's about ready to come, and the breeder rings me and says, you won't believe this, Crystal's in season. And I'm like, oh no, like, we'd had the conversation because I want to get her de-sexed, and then I have to wait, and I'm just like, oh my God, starting to freak out about this dog coming in. And then I remembered all my access tools and started with the, how does it get any better than this? And what else is possible, and just let it go. Now, Crystal then rocks up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. And my friend only stayed for a few minutes, so Crystal and Wizard had an opportunity to say hello. And do you know what? From that moment, from the moment of meeting Crystal, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that she was the perfect match for our family. I can't even tell you how strong a feeling that was. So the result of having Crystal come in, yeah, yes, you, is that all of the things that I was worried about. So I was worried about, I was never worried about Wizard getting on with Crystal, but I was worried about Josie. Well, Josie got down off a cat tree, walked straight up to Crystal, and from that moment on, they've been great mates. They've got, this really silly game that they play. Crystal will chase Josie around, but Josie's not scared of her. So it kind of gives Crystal the ability to have her fun, and Josie's, got the ability to have, another animal to talk to. What she's done for Wizard's anxiety uh, has been absolutely incredible. Before Crystal, so before Crystal, BC. um, when the lawnmower man would come, Wizard would be shaking like a leaf. He would be getting under my desk, anything he could do to hide. Uh, when they came last time and Crystal was here, they were both sitting on the couch here, and Wizard looks at Crystal to see how Crystal was reacting, and Crystal's, very, whatever. And so the result was he kind of put his ears back for a second and then just kind of let it go. So I was concerned about, because I've got the possums and I can't interact wildlife with domestic animals, for protection for the wildlife. Not that these guys would hurt them, but I don't want the wildlife getting used to the animals. So little miss here will sit at the door. She knows she's not allowed in there. Occasionally she'll try and sneak her head in, but she just sits at the door and as if she's waiting. As far as Wizard and I do a bit of work, working with other animals remotely. I wasn't quite sure initially how Crystal would go with that, and Crystal is an incredible healer in her own right. They operate very differently, but she just wants to sort of contribute to everyone. And I had a conversation with Crystal about, what does she want her job to be while she's here. And we have something in Melbourne, and I'm not sure if it's nationally across Australia, something called Delta therapy dogs. And these are dogs that go, their owners are rural volunteers, they're all volunteers, and they go into our old age facilities, aged care facilities, hospitals, disability care facilities, and they go and visit the patients. And, it's a great way of contributing to them. And this is what Crystal wants to do. That's what she wants to do. So I will find time in my incredibly hectic life, because I also work full time as well as care for animals full time. But we need to do a bit of training before then. She does learn very, very quickly, but she needs some specific training, and that's what she wants to do. So that's going to be part of her contribution to everything as well. But I was on a phone call with the beautiful Ali right today, who's over in Cambodia, and it's the first time that Crystal has actually been on a call, and the interaction between the two of them was nothing short of magical. So I'm starting to think that maybe there's something else that she wants to do in regards to getting involved, and just, she's just a huge contribution. So in a nutshell, I think, really, if you get a feeling about an animal, really start asking questions about that. It's still a choice as to whether or not you, well, in this case, it was still my choice as to whether or not we got Crystal, even though, for me, there were so many reasons I believed of why we shouldn't actually get another dog, not necessarily Crystal. I couldn't imagine life without her. Wizard gets everything he needs from the companionship. Josie, Crystal just absolutely adores Josie. Josie's manipulated Crystal. Josie's a cat, has manipulated Crystal into letting her outside a couple of times, with me madly running down the yard to try and talk Josie back in, because Josie's an inside only cat. Maybe not anymore. So yeah, so ask questions, and especially if you are in resistance as to what it is that they're asking you for. So yeah, I just thought I would share that. I know that there has been previously, there was a conversation, it was a couple of weeks ago now, I think, where a member of our group mentioned that she was having, it's just a dog that was having issues because she'd recently lost her little buddy. So I just wanted to share this. I'm kind of rambling a bit because that's what I do. That's who I am. But yeah, I'd love any other people that have got stories to share on a similar wavelength or anything different. That's the point of the whole Access for Animals group and membership. So yeah, I think that's it. Have we said all that we needed to say, Wizzy? Yeah, we've said all we needed to say. What about you? Do you want to say goodbye? Want to share some energy before you go? She's very, very beautiful. And she's a real cuddler as well. She just wants, and this is another thing with, with animals, they just want love, and they just want to be able to give it as freely as they will receive it. So, yeah, that's it. Anything else to add? You're a bit of a chatter too. She loves to have a chat. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.